Now, Ruchama, thank you so much for bearing with me, because I know that this is a little bit tough to sit and listen, but I do know
Thinking about sit. I'm going to actually sit.
Oh, that's a great idea. And I just really know that in the future, you're going to come back to me and say, you know what, Rick? I'm going to wait for that FaceTime. You're going to say, Rick, I really understand and appreciate it now. Okay, so we're moving on over here to an actually really nice piece of meat, but it does need to be prepared properly. This is known as the minute steak, okay? If you get the piece of meat in its entirety, it does have a vein that runs through it. This vein is extremely tough. It's impossible for you to chew and eat. So the way that you would want to prepare this is, again, low and slow, soft like butter, and when you get that piece, it either congeals and kind of wrinkles up, or you just cut it and put it to the side. What you can do is go to your butcher and say, hey, can you slice it for me and devein it? So when he does that, you end up with a really nice piece of split.
Looks a lot finer.
It definitely is. It's still a minute steak, but it gets prepared entirely differently, because you're actually gonna hit this on a high flame. You're gonna grill it on both sides for about 5 to 6 minutes. You're gonna check it in the middle, because again, it's gonna depend on how thick your piece is. Your bottom piece is always gonna be thickish. If you ended up with the top part, it might end up being a thinner piece of meat, which might need 3 minutes to form it. So of course, you know, you start eyeballing your piece of meat. Over here we have minute steaks where they're actually cut, and these are going to get prepared low and slow as well, where again you want to start it off hitting it with high heat, searing it in your frying pan, add in whatever delicious dressing you want to add. You can either stove top cook it, or you can cook it in your oven. It probably will take about 2 hours for it to really
puck.
There you go, and we want to get it that really, really soft, full off the bone. Right over here, we have a London broil, which I find that the London broil is probably one of the most popular cuts.
My mother makes it every Shabbos.
You see?
Every single Shabbos.
What's so nice, it's so hard to kill it. It takes on any type of flavor. You can decide if you want to do it with just a rub. You can decide if you want to
She does like a marinade. She keeps it in the fridge overnight in like a Ziploc.
I love that. You put it in a Ziploc in the refrigerator. This is going to get seared or broiled for about, I would say, 5 minutes each side. Again, you want to make sure that you hit it at 130, take it out, enjoy it. What's beautiful about it, if your mother's making it for Shabbos day, you want to put it in its juice. I like to cook it in its juices, so this way it just keeps it nice and moist. It won't dry out. Put it in your refrigerator, take it out, don't reheat, bring it to room temperature, slice against the grain. Remember, we discussed that, and there you go. Next, we're going to move on to our...
I know what this is.
Yes, I'm so proud of you.
Chop meat.
The bride that knew nothing
And
never
this,
disappoints.
Can I give an idea?
Yes.
So everybody happens to be, I only really know what this is because when I went to Israel, somebody made it as an appetizer. It was really cool. They basically took this, literally put it in a pot, and they made just chopped meat pieces, put hummus on a plate, tahina, they threw it all on the top. It was such a fantastic, easy thing.
I love it. That's a hummus basar.
Literally, she told me all she did was put this in a pot, hit it, put some salt and black pepper.
There you go.
Easy.
That's
But you could also make meatballs, right?
Absolutely. You can make meatballs, you can make hamburgers, you can make meatloaf. You can actually, if you really want to get fancy, you can add a little bit of stuff to it, roll it out, saute up some vegetables, and then roll it up.
Like a deli roll.
Using your punch. And I mean, there you go. You can bake it, you can sear it.
Super cool.
Absolutely. Of course, that will be in the oven or on the top. Here we have a chuck steak. Chuck steaks, if they're really well marbled, I guess it depends from which part the meat came from exactly. If it's really well marbled, then you can actually treat it like a better piece of meat, whether it was your minute steak that was deveined or a French roast, which we're getting to, and it can be seared just like you did your rib steak. If it's not well marbled, and if you see there really is not that much marbling here, it's pretty, it's interesting. This side is better, more well marbled than the other side.
Right.
You would cook it low and slow, like our other.
I'm getting from a little bit of what you're doing with the meat that it's really a preference on what you put on it. Like, you know, you keep suggesting you can do your rubs, this Simply Gourmet, or you can do just salt, pepper, whatever you have in your, but it's really based on preference.
Exactly. And some people might just be, they're really just rub type of people.
No, but there's no rhyme or reason. It's what you like, is what I'm trying to ask. Basically.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
Absolutely. Now we come to really another one of the king cuts. Right over here, we have actually a beautifully marbled piece of French roast. And I want you to see how beautifully marbled it is.
Yeah,
Okay? What's interesting is that if your butcher wants to slice about 1/2-inch wide slices, it becomes a New York style strip steak, which is treated like you would, again, do.
Yeah, we just had strip steak.
They are so that was skirt. The strip steak is actually, yeah. So this actually is almost like making yourself a rib steak for dinner. It is so good. What I love about the French roast, if you get it either yourself, you can take a French roast like this one's pretty small, and you slice it in the 1/2 inches. Instead of, let's say, using a cheaper cut when you're making a stir fry, if you slice it into thin slices, you end up with such a soft, succulent, and you don't have to worry about tenderizing the meat. That's a really great tip for all of you out there. But a French roast, my favorite way to do it is we love to hit it with a spice rub, and really any of them will work. Take your favorite one, a little bit of olive oil, make sure that you give it a nice packing, and you can, I like to always start it off with a quick sear, 450, let it go for about 15 minutes. This one's so small, I would even give it 10 minutes, reduce the heat to 325. Probably after about 15 minutes, 20 minutes, I would start to check this for doneness. I would take it out at 130 for medium rare, let it sit for about 10 minutes, and then slice against the grain. We're gonna move on over here, and
this is my absolute favorite.
I love it. The bride who knew
this
nothing,
is
or claimed
my
to.
favorite meat ever. Whether a barbecue, whether cut over a salad, whether baked, cooked, I love it. Grill, everything.
Tell everybody, what is it?
This is an oyster steak, and it is unbelievable.
Tell me how you prepare your oyster steak.
Okay, so we do 2 ways. Either you can put it, marinate it, and leave it overnight, and then my mother will grill it. I personally like to actually leave it plain, and I grill it, and then I cut it over a salad with dressing. I like it a little bit pink in the middle versus some people like it more well done. I like it a little bit pink. It is such a good, I think the correct word is lean, because it's not fatty. It's a great meat, and it's really delicious. I definitely suggest everybody buying one to try.
And I have to tell you, the more time I spend with you, the more I like you. She's like, I like my meat pink. So do I. You're awesome.
I like the same things.
Okay, we're going to get to a toughie, but I think you're going to really...
What is this?
This over here is pepper steak.
Oh, it's like good for a stir fry?
Yeah, it's for a stir fry. And I will tell you, many people are a little bit scarred from pepper steaks because they feel like no matter what I do, I can't get it right and it's tough. So what I actually like to do is I like to take my pepper steak and I actually like to tenderize it before I start working with it. One very good way to tenderize it is you can make a small mixture. I actually have it in my book, Simply Gourmet, where it like literally breaks it down so perfectly. But a little bit of baking soda will actually break it down.
Interesting.
Now, you don't want to overdo it because baking soda can have a very sour taste, which we do not want to add to a dish. But you can either put it with water and baking soda, let it sit for a drop, and then rinse it. The way that I have it in my cookbook, you don't even need to clean it, you just continue. But that's a really good tip to go ahead and actually use a little bit of baking soda to tenderize your meat. There's one more tenderizer that's really nice, is if you take a non-dairy milk and you actually let it soak.
What?
Actually, yes, both for your chicken cutlets. I've had so many people tell me after I told them that they were like, game changer, life changer. If you let it sit for just that little bit in the non-dairy milk, it will tenderize it. For some reason, it's
shocked.
Yes. So there you have it.
You can cut it up with like veggies and peppers also, no? You just have to throw it in.
What's great, stir fry it, bake it, add sauces. I mean,
whatever you like. What's your preference? Like
exactly.
I said, these meats are all great, but it's based on your preference.
You know what? Makes a great ramen bowl with beef and broccoli or crispy orange beef. I mean,
so many things to do with all these things.
Or sesame beef, crispy sesame beef. There you go.